Faces dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here as my camera decides to go away. Good times. That's what happens on a Wednesday. I will figure this out, but we got a lot of things to get into today, whether you can see me or not. That's not really the issue at this point. We have CONCACAF Champions League to start to look ahead to. We have the UEFA Champions League to talk about as they're trying to make some changes, although they're going to be delayed a bit. We got silly season and such to start talking about because all the rumors are flying in Europe right now. We're going to get into the best attacking lines for Major League Soccer this season. We've talked about the defenses. We've talked about the midfields. We're going to talk about the attacks with Mike Conti at 10 o'clock. All the things on a Wednesday along with your questions and such. We are less than a week away from CONCACAF Champions League. John, our boys down in Costa Rica, Alajuelense, got another win. It's 24 in a row without a loss.
Yep. It was
Yes, I picked a win on the poll.
Yes. Yeah, you did. You most certainly did. Both you and Jason picked Alajuelense to win. I
may or may not have mimicked some of Jason's picks. So.
Well, but
that's possible.
Win on a weekly basis. I mean, I understand the idea of getting onto a solid footing and then, breaking off on your own to try to make the difference. Yeah.
Oh, I just picked them to win because Jason picked them to win and he's been winning. So I'm just going to piggyback this and maybe in one or two places break off from him to see if I can get over the hump. But otherwise, just try and stay within arm's reach of him.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a late first half goal, and it was 1-0, and so now they are 11 points clear in league play over Santos. Santos has a match in hand, but right now Alajuelense is far and away the tops of the Costa Rican Premier League, and it is, they just keep right on going.
You sound afraid, John.
No, the dog is up. The dog's up on the mid-level. I was just being matter-of-fact about last night.
They're the best of the Costa Rican Premier Division. You afraid they're going to beat Atlanta United?
Nope.
So now you're not afraid at all. So there's no in-between with John Nelson is what we've learned. He's either terrified or, nope, no chance. There's definitely a chance. Let's not act like there's not.
Mike has said on this show that in March Madness, I don't know if I just got us in trouble by using that, but in March college basketball
I don't think they're coming after us. Good grief. Now you are afraid.
This is a 5-12 matchup, and I definitely agree with Mike that this is a 5-12 matchup because those 12s can come up and bite you.
Yeah, but John, we got to look at recent form here because, 5-12. Okay, that's fine. They barely won at San Carlos last night, 1-0. They are missing some players. They got some of them back from the U23s last night. 1-1 draw before that. Scoreless draw before that. They beat Perez Zeledon 5-1, okay?
Everybody
they beat Guadalupe 3-1, okay? They beat Sporting San Jose 3-0, okay? 2 draws before that. They haven't exactly been dominating a weaker division. I think Alajuelense has the talent to make this difficult. Don't get me wrong, and they're in good form.
Yeah.
But Atlanta United is a clear favorite. Now, the questions on the Atlanta United side are real because they haven't played a competitive match. You have a new manager. You do have questions about what the lineup looks like. You have a lot of new faces in it. Really valid questions. But you have to, in my opinion, put it into context here. The challenges are not Alajuelense is a team at the level of Atlanta United. They're not. They are playing. They are in form. They've been playing regularly. That can be good or bad. They could be a little tired. You've got guys coming back from international duty, but they are in rhythm. Atlanta United's not. Right. That's an easy one. It's always tough to go on the road in Central America. However, don't think there's going to be fans in the building. That helps you. Mm-hmm. There are things that are here that can make this challenging, but you can't play the game of over or underselling it, in my opinion, because you've got to be real when it comes to CONCACAF. I think too often it's CONCACAF, MLS teams are going to lose, or it is MLS teams should win, no questions asked, no even worries about it. It's not the case. There is a real look here at the talent in this game. Costa Rica has, and in this league, in this team, they have good players. They have players who were on the field yesterday in Costa Rica's narrow loss to Mexico with the senior national team. They also have some young players who are still trying to prove themselves, who play significant minutes. They also play a 4-4-2 almost exclusively. So you know what they're going to do coming in. I think the way Atlanta United is structured to play can handle a 4-4-2 in this way. It's not a 4-4-2 diamond. It is a pretty basic old school 4-4-2. You'll have one of the forwards drop into the hole from time to time. It is a 4-4-2. Pretty simple. 3 in the midfield against their 2 in the midfield. I love Atlanta's chances. You do have to deal with their 2 up top. You do have to deal with their direct play. Wide, you should be okay. You have more talent, but they're going to have opportunities to overlap and try to create some 2v1s. You're going to have to be ready to deal with that. There are real things that go into this match that can complicate it for Atlanta United, and there's real things that go into the match that give Atlanta United a clear advantage. The talent is the clear advantage. The complications are Atlanta United hasn't played a competitive match yet, and Alajuelense has been doing well in getting results in competitive matches for quite a while now.
Yeah, and that's the context that you have to look at a matchup like this in. You broke it down. You broke it down, all of the concerns for either side. If you're looking at it from an Atlanta United perspective, you see what Alajuelense has been doing, playing regularly, getting folks back, all of these things in context with Atlanta United. New coach, formations, and everyone trying to get accustomed to their roles in this new setup. So there's a lot of stuff that's in play here for this particular matchup. But yeah, it should be a matchup that Atlanta United should handle with all of those intangibles that you were talking about, no fans and all that other kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff to consider here when you're coming into this matchup.
Even with fans, it'd be disappointing if Atlanta United lost. Period. I mean, the fans not being there doesn't change it. It makes it a little bit easier to go on the road.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with what you dealt with at Ariola in 2019, where once they got going, then it became a bit of a cauldron, and it became a bit of a difficult situation on the road. You're not going to have to deal with that old school turf either. Look, Atlanta United's not at full strength, as Walchara points out. You don't have Alan Franco yet. There are questions about everybody's fitness because you're still easing into this. The way these things fall for MLS teams, it complicates it. Even this year, it complicates it. Doesn't mean they're not the favorite. Doesn't mean they shouldn't win. It's not done in 90 minutes either. That first game, you want to manage it. You want to get out of there with a good result to come home and win in the second leg. If that means it's a draw, that's fine. If that means it's a narrow win, that's even better. If that means it's a narrow loss, that's okay, especially if you get a goal on the road. It is 180 minutes, and you have to manage it. And that's what this first game is going to be all about. And the challenge is just, you haven't been in this situation with this group of players and this manager ever before yet. And you're going to be thrown into the deep end of the pool a little bit. Okay, that's how it is. I wouldn't expect Alan Franco, even if he is signed, and I know people start worrying about cryptic tweets and stuff. I don't think he's going to jump straight into the team. I don't think he's going to be ready to go once that contract's done because you got to get the visa and all that kind of stuff. He's had to quarantine. I mean, yeah, he's been able to work out in a hotel, as we've seen pictures, but there's only so much you can do with that from a fitness perspective, especially from a rhythm perspective. He had been playing regularly at Independiente. That's going to help him get back faster. But you won't have him for the first leg. You probably won't have him for the second leg, although we don't know yet. There's no way to know that. You have the players to get through it. You don't have to be at full strength to win this. There is a massive difference between these two teams in talent. You do have to manage this 180 minutes to get through it because Alajuelense is in form. To a degree. Like I said, the last three, it's not exactly dominant. They've scored 2 goals in the last 3 games. They've conceded 1 goal in the last 3 games. Okay, good defensive team. Not playing the best of talent. They have been missing people in these last 3 games. We'll see what their lineup looks like against Herediano. That is on Friday. That's a quick turn for them. But that game got pushed up to Friday because it was supposed to be Sunday. You're not going to play Sunday and then Tuesday in CONCACAF. They moved that game up to Friday to help Alajuelense. Jarrett, I mean, for you, I'm sure you haven't been scouting Alajuelense yet, so let's talk about Atlanta United because that's the important thing here. They have the talent to win this. no matter who they're playing out of Central America, what are the things you're looking at that Atlanta United's going to have to do well in CONCACAF Champions League?
I mean, pretty much what you said to manage the game. I mean, it's because, yeah, it is 180 minutes, and Alajuelense does what we ask Atlanta to do in the playoffs, which is, hey, don't give up goals. That zero you can surrender is the best thing that can happen, especially in Costa Rica. If Atlanta goes down there and gets blanked, even if they don't give up a goal, Alajuelense is going to be at least feel like they got a puncher's chance because they can come up here and say, we didn't give up that road goal, which can be so vital. I think Atlanta's got to go in there and just have their composure. They've got guys who have played in CONCACAF Champions League now. This isn't 2019, anymore, where, you had guys who weren't necessarily that experienced in some cases with playing, in Central America in, what is it, March now? In April, I guess, in this case. But usually in January or February, those early season, we're going to go down and play on bad turf in a weird conditions. You don't really have that this time, and you've got the experience. Even if not everyone on this team has played in a CONCACAF Champions League match, they've played in big matches.
They've played in international competition. That's the important thing here because it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, thank you. You've got guys who have played in cup competitions. You've got guys who, you just brought in a guy who was lighting it up in the Copa Diego Armando Maradona. Say that 8 times fast. You've got guys who have played in Sudamericana and Libertadores. You've got guys who have played in this competition before. I think you just go in, you manage it, you stay within yourself, and if things get... I'd like to think that you pick up the lesson of 2018 or 2019 that is still valuable, which was the away leg in Mexico, which is if things start to get away from you a bit, then shut up shop and bring it home when it's manageable.
Yeah.
So just know the situation.
Now, that's something that Gabriel Heinze is not really comfortable doing. He wants to play in an aggressive way. You can find a balance in that, though.
Yeah.
If it means like you're having some problems dealing with their 2 up top, with the way you're structured, if it's Sosa, for example, dropping to help defend the second forward, if you need to get a third true center back in and maybe go to a little bit more of a true 3-4-3 or 3-5-2 look, okay, you can make that change. And he's been around the block, too, as a player, and he does have international experience as a manager. The player on this team, and I think this was an important thing as I was doing some research to make sure that, I know where they are in terms of international competition. I mean, Brad Gazan, you're not really worried about, but he's got 8 games in CONCACAF, 9 games in the old UEFA Cup and Europa League. You look at the back line, Bello's got a couple of games in CONCACAF under his belt. So does Mikey Ambrose. Miles Robinson, 5 games in CONCACAF Champions League. Anton Walks, 3 games in Champions League, so he's been exposed to it if he has to play the center back next to Robinson. Campbell doesn't, and if he gets that start, he's going to be needing a little bit of support from the guys around him. On the right side, Brooks Lennon's got 3 games in CONCACAF. Ronald Hernandez, if you turn to him, he has played in the Copa Libertadores before he went to Europe. You look at the midfield, Santiago Sosa, only 21 games with River Plate before he gets here, but 7 of those were in the Libertadores group stage. So he's got that experience of going on the road, representing a big team against the underdog, because those were the games he was getting against lesser teams. That's going to help him if he is that guy. Marcelino Moreno, 11 games internationally in Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana. I know he's suspended for the first leg because of what happened against Club America. Okay, you can manage that. If it's Mateo Sosetu, and I know he is back in Brazil at the moment, I don't know if he's going to be back for this game. He's got experience internationally. Maybe he's back for the second leg. Barco, we've talked about many times. 24 games internationally in his career. Sudamericana, CONCACAF Champions League. Jurgen Damm, 25 matches in the CONCACAF Champions League in his career during his time with Tigres. He's been around the block. He knows what it's like, again, to be a big team going on the road against a lesser opponent and how to manage those things. You've got guys who can handle it. You've got guys who can handle these situations. You've got a manager who can handle the situation. They just haven't done it together. And that's going to be the tough thing against the best opponent they've been drawn with in the round of 16. Ariola was not at this level. They were struggling in league play when they came in. They got a big result. That gave them a bit of a boost, and it wasn't enough for them. Round of 16, Motagua last year. I think Motagua in Honduras is in a lesser league than Costa Rica. I think Costa Rica is the best league in CONCACAF outside of the U.S. and Mexico. But it's a big gap down to the Costa Rican league from the U.S. and Mexico. It's a big difference. I mean, you look at the squad valuations, and it's massive differences. Atlanta United has more talent. They have more resources. They should be able to deal with this, even with it being their first competitive game with this group.
Yeah, and just
I wouldn't be sure.
Well, no, real quick, Jared. I mean, the biggest thing is that just to remind everybody, you certainly can. You don't want to lose this two-legged tie in the first go-round. You don't want to lose it. You can certainly win it in the first leg.
No. You can't win it in the first leg. You got to play 180 minutes. No. You're not trying to win it in the first leg. Because you don't want to give them a boost. No. You don't want Alajuelense. You don't want to play wide open, go to try to put this game away with 3 away goals, and concede on the break. Because what does that do for a team that is a smaller team?
It gives them that measure of hope.
Right. No, you can't. It's the opposite, John. You can't win this in the first 90. You lose it.
That's what I was trying to say, yeah.
Yeah, it's the opposite. It's a big deal because on the road in the first leg, even being the better team, it is your first game. You've got to manage it. You've got to manage the 90 minutes in Costa Rica and get out of there. Yeah, you can have a bruise. That's fine. You can give up a goal or two. That's fine. If you get a goal, no problems. No problems at all. You were down 3-1 to Ariola. You came back and flipped that. It was 1-1 at Motagua. That was better, and they managed that very well. They went into that game with a little bit different approach. This is going to be different because it's Heinze's first chance with this team. He's going to want to put his stamp on it, but he's also got to manage the situation, and he's been there and he's done that. So you're not going to be at your best game one of this new era, of this new project. You won't be. But you can manage the result to bring it home in the second leg and put it away. That's the idea, in my opinion. Jared,
okay, Jared.
See, I wouldn't be shocked if this is one that kind of looks like the Motagua series. And not to get too deep into predictions, which we'll do next week. But if you told me, hey, Atlanta goes down there and it's either a draw or they lose like 2-1, it's hindsight. It could be 3-2, something like that. If you told me they did that and then came back and won the home leg and took the group that way, yeah, I would put money on that. It's because, yeah, it's your first competitive game with a new manager, and you have to go play a Costa Rican team that has not been surrendering goals lately. So go manage it down in Costa Rica. If you lose, keep it within a goal. If you draw, even better. If you win, that's awesome, but more importantly, don't lose the whole damn tie in the first 90 minutes and then come home and do what you've done against Ariola and Motagua. You can follow a similar script. You don't always want to be behind the 8 ball coming home for 90 minutes, especially against a team that doesn't really surrender a ton of goals lately. But worse things happen at sea than, going down there and drawing or losing 3-2, 2-1, whatever. And it's a 2-legged tie. They have to also manage it. Alajuelense does. So, I mean, as much as we talk about Atlanta managing 180 minutes, Alajuelense has to manage 180 minutes as well. And you put them under pressure, they can blink too. You're not the only one who's feeling pressure and feeling the ability to possibly blink here. Because I get that they're underdogs, but they're going to want to come take a scalp. And I think if they smell blood in the water, or if they think they smell blood in the water, you get them coming out of their turtle shell, you can cut that turtle head right off.
I'd be shocked if they didn't come out very aggressively in the first leg, because the typical approach, so. The blueprint is you come out, if you're Alajuelense in a situation, you come out, you try to win the home leg by as much as you can, and you find every bus you can park in the second leg on the road. That's generally the blueprint for the lesser team here. you take advantage of your home leg. They're not a good enough attacking team to say, oh, yeah, we can go guarantee ourselves a goal on the road. You know, Johan Venegas is in his early 30s. He was not a top player in MLS. He bounced around a little bit with Minnesota and Montreal. You've got Martinez, the Cuban, who actually can't play in the second leg. It's kind of a complicated situation when you dig into this, and I haven't seen this reported anywhere outside of Costa Rica yet, so breaking news, or at least breaking information for you. He's been playing really, really well for them in the Costa Rican League, Marcel Hernandez. He is not able to leave Costa Rica for the second leg. It's a strange legal case because it's been dismissed twice. There was an accusation presented in November of 2019 regarding acts with an underage girl. Like I said, the case has been dismissed twice since then. This was supposed to have happened in August of 2018. Accusation presented November of 2019. It's been dismissed. It was appealed. It's been dismissed again. It's been appealed again. There's a hearing in June of 2021, here in a few months. He's not allowed to leave the country between now and that hearing. They tried to find a way to have him be able to come for the second leg. He can't. He can't leave the country. So Marcel Hernandez, who has been their best attacker, can't play in the second leg. They're going to go for everything in that first leg if they can. They have to. They just have to. They had 7 guys called up to the U23s. They're all back now. Some of them played last night. During the time where the U23 players were away and players were starting to go to the national team because they had 4 guys called up for the national team for the games against Bosnia and Herzegovina and Mexico yesterday, they didn't have enough to do like real scrimmages and training. They were really down to kind of the bare bones. But when you dig into the lineups they've played lately, it's been 4-4-2. The last game where they scored a bunch of goals, it was Hernandez with the hat trick. Venegas scored in that match as well. Since then, it's been really narrow margins. This isn't a team that I think can go out and blow out a big-time opponent. I think the way they would beat a big-time opponent is stealing a goal and playing good defensively. That's really their way through here. You've got a goalkeeper in Leonel Morera, who is 30, who's a veteran. He's on loan from Pachuca. 14 caps for Costa Rica. He's won the Costa Rican League 7 times. I mean, no worries about your goalkeeper. You've got guys behind him with a little bit of experience as well. It feels like they've got young and old options in almost every position on the field. Jurgen Roman started last night. Ian Lawrence, who is 18, has been starting lately at left back. He's an Alajuelense product. Roman kind of bounced around, then came back to Alajuelense. He's played more this season, but Lawrence has been the guy lately. He was with the U23s. Junior Diaz is a long-time veteran, 80 caps for Costa Rica. He's 37 years old at center back. He's played a good bit for them. Played in Europe, played for Wisla Krakow in Poland, played for John's favorite Belgian team.
Brugge!
Yes, he did. Mainz and Darmstadt in Germany, and then came back to Herediano, then came to Alajuelense. He's got league titles in Poland. He's got league titles in Costa Rica. He's got 80 caps for Costa Rica. You've got another veteran center back, 35-year-old Daniel Ariola. Came over from Atlas on a free transfer. He bounced around all of the divisions in Mexico. He played for Atlante, Pachuca, Morelia, Dorados, Puebla, Atlas. Came in right before the CONCACAF League semifinals and final. Played in both of those. He had previously won the CONCACAF Champions League in Mexico. Over 300 matches in Liga MX. You got 2 guys, 35 and 37 at center back. A lot of experience. Also a lot of miles on those tires. How are they going to handle the speed of Atlanta United running at them if those are your 2 center backs? They've got youth behind that. They've got a 21-year-old and Alexis Gamboa, who is on loan from a Belgian club. And they've got 20-year-old Fernan Farion, who is starting to play a good bit. He's a new arrival. He had come up with Santos and Guadalupe. On the right side, it's the same thing. You've got a veteran in Salvatierra at 31. He's played 20 times this season. He spent some time with Dallas. It was really weird. He was loaned to Dallas at the beginning of 2017. He didn't pass his physical upon arrival. Sounds familiar, right? And was returned to Alajuelense, and he's played over 300 times for them. 36 caps for Costa Rica. 31 years old. Another older player with a lot of miles on the tires, but a lot of experience. Ian Smith has been behind him, a 23-year-old Costa Rican who came over from a Swedish club. He went to Hammarby from Santos in Costa Rica. Didn't really work out, went to Norrköping, and now has moved back to Costa Rica. Those two have kind of been rotating at the right back position. Central midfield, playing two, it's kind of interesting the way they'll do it. It turns kind of sort of into a diamond because Brian Ruiz is not going to sit very deep when he's one of them. He's 35, another veteran, but he's still got some magic in his feet. One of the most talented players in CONCACAF history, in my opinion. He was called back into the Costa Rican national team for the first time in a long time. Stellar career in Europe. After starting in Costa Rica at Alajuelense, he went to Ghent in Belgium. He's played for Twente in the Netherlands. He's played for Fulham. He went to PSV, Sporting Lisbon. He was last with Santos in Brazil before coming back last summer to Alajuelense. The other player next to him is a bit of a question. It sounds like from the Costa Rican media, they're going to go with Jose Miguel Cubero, 34-year-old. Again, another veteran, but that's kind of the way they're leaning here. He has played a good bit lately, but he's coming back from injury. He missed most of last season with a back injury. He missed a lot of the first part of this season with a calf injury. 54 caps for Costa Rica. He can play that holding midfield spot and can drop into the back if needed. He's played center back. He's more comfortable as a 6. He's played at Blackpool in England. He played at Alcoyano in Spain as well before coming back to Alajuelense. Up top, and this is where it gets a little interesting for them because of the situation with Hernandez, I would expect he plays in the first leg. I would expect the second leg, it's Johan Venegas and Jurgens Montenegro. Who will pair with Hernandez in the first leg? It's generally been Venegas. Tell me if you're seeing a pattern here. Hernandez 31, Venegas 32. Veterans. Wily veterans, but also older veterans who've played a lot of games here lately. Montenegro's 20. I think everybody remembers him. He is with an agency who is based here in Atlanta. He came to sign a new contract with his agency. Everybody got excited. Costa Rican media misreported that one a little bit. And he is at Alajuelense. 7 goals in 30 games in the current Apertura Clausura season. Venegas has got 6 goals in 13 matches in that time frame. Hernandez has 11 goals in 13 matches in that time frame. He came over from Cibao in the Dominican Republic. Out wide, this is where you go a little younger. And this is where I think if Alajuelense has a big day in Game 1, it's because of the wide players. Carlos Mora, at 20, has played consistently this season, sometimes off the bench, sometimes starting. He's an Alajuelense product, starting to break through. The right side, it's been mostly Barlon Sequeira, who's 22. He's got 1 cap for Costa Rica. He's an Alajuelense product. You've seen a little bit of Giancarlo Castro. You've seen a little bit of Alonso Martinez. Martinez is one of Costa Rica's young, exciting players. He can play inside a little bit, too. If they do change up the formation, it could be to get Martinez into the match. He started at Punta Arenas before coming over to Alajuelense in 16. He's got 5 goals in 16 matches, and he was one that looked pretty good with Costa Rica's U23s in the Olympic qualifying tournament. So they do have youth, and they do have youth coming through, but they're relying on a lot of veterans. And if you're Atlanta United and you look at that and you see 31, 32-year-old up top, you look centrally in the midfield, 35 and 34, and Brian Ruiz isn't much of a defensive player, and you're going to play 2 in the midfield. Okay, you really like that situation. Probably Salvatierra on the right side at 31 in the back. 2 center backs, you're probably going to go with Ariola and Diaz, 35 and 37 years old, and then a younger guy on the left side. You worry about the width. You worry about the wily veteran instincts. But you don't worry about the legs. You don't worry about the pace. And that's something that we have seen, whether it was John in Birmingham, whether it was anybody who watched the exercise with Charleston. Pace, speed, playing fast, that's something Atlanta United's going to do this season. And playing an older team, that's another area where I think you have an advantage. You have to take advantage of it.
Now, just doing the math real quick on their league play, you mentioned 3 goals against Sporting, 3 goals against Guadalupe, and 5 against Perez Zeledon. Those are the 3 teams at the bottom of the table in the Costa Rican Premier League. They have scored 30 goals in their 15 matches in league. You take those 11 out, that's only a goals per game average of 1.4 in the other 12 matches that they played this season. It's 2 otherwise, but you take those 11 out in just those 3 games at the bottom of the table, they're only averaging 1.4 goals per game in league coming into their last matches before they come into CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah, it's scary when you look at it and you see the results and you say, oh, 24 in a row without losing. Oh, boy. But then when you dig a little bit deeper, okay, yeah, there's things to worry about here. But also, and this is something that their manager, Andres Karovic, said after that 1-1 draw with Santos, which was an awful game. That was one that was on Centro America TV. It was awful.
Yeah, it was. It was
not fun to watch at all. He said the games in the local league need more fluidity. There's too much time wasted in them. He thinks it hurts the top teams as they try to compete internationally. He said that on March 20th. They play on April 6th internationally. Okay. He said the match had too many stops and starts, and that's what you see those lesser teams do. Because the Costa Rican League is lesser than MLS and Mexico. There's no way around that. It's just a fact. But then in the Costa Rican League, you don't have the parity that you do in MLS, for example. The lesser teams are much lesser. Even Saprissa this season is not very good. Alajuelense is by far the biggest team at the moment. They have the most talent. They are dominant. And teams who can't play with them do what drove Karovic crazy. And Santos did that. They sat back. They tried to play on the counter occasionally. They tried to waste time wherever they could. They played very, very slow. It will hurt them, especially when you're going to play a team like Atlanta United, who will be trying to turn it into a track meet. That's going to hurt Alajuelense because they haven't played at that kind of pace probably in years. I mean, even CONCACAF League, where they won it back in January, you're not playing at this kind of pace regularly. So this is going to be very different for them. And for an older team, it will be a challenge. That's where Atlanta can bridge that gap between being sharp and not being in mid-season form like Alajuelense, is speed the game up. Because you can play fast. It could be sloppy, but you can play fast. Make sure you have the principles of play defensively and you're protected. But you can play faster than this team by a lot. By a whole lot.
And one more number real quick. You were talking about league play in general. The draw has been the end result in 41% of the overall games that have been played this year in the Costa Rican League. 72 of the 174 games in Costa Rica this year in this Clausura have been draws.
That's insane. I think it tells you that there are a lot of teams who are playing not to lose.
Yeah.
And when you look at the overall talent, if you fire up a random Costa Rican game when they pop up on Centro America TV on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, the level's not what it has been. Alajuelense is a good team, but they're not getting tested regularly. They do play Herediano on Friday. Herediano, they've just brought in Ricardo La Volpe in some kind of like overseer role, which is fascinating to me. I've seen shots of La Volpe probably put the cigarette down before they took the picture, but La Volpe with his like button-down shirt, sleeves rolled up, open, very low cut, jeans, watching games, spectacular mustache. Che Volpe is a great, great manager I'm blown away that he's at Ariola in some kind of like overseer role now. Haven't really seen much of an impact on it yet. I think he is still observing things to figure out what he's going to do. What kind of form are they coming in, John, since you've got the Costa Rican league pulled up?
Who?
Ariola.
Ariola. They've won 3 of their last 5. They are one of 3 teams that are 500 or better in league play at 5-5-5.
Okay. They beat Limon. They beat Sporting San Jose. Finished 10-10. They beat Grecia. They lost to San Carlos. They drew with Icaral. Cassie asks, what's the nickname for Alajuelense? Liga, because their official name is Liga de Alajuelense. That is LDA, is what you'll see abbreviated a lot of times. Their Twitter handle is LDACR. That is what they predominantly go by. Liga, which sounds weird because they're a team. They're not a league, but,
Yes. Welcome
to history and such. We'll dig deeper into Alajuelense history and the club and all that. We will, by request of Ricky Ricardo, we will have a special CONCACAF Champions League preview before next Tuesday to kind of look at all the other matches, and we'll get into that kind of stuff. That's always one of my favorite things about CONCACAF is learning about some of these clubs in Central America that we don't know and their history and what their nicknames are and why they have a strange animal on their crest and stuff like that. So we'll have that preview for you before Tuesday. Probably on Monday is the plan to get that put together. I am doing my research now, and I'll drop that for you guys on Monday or so. Jason Nix asks, and we don't know yet, asks if we'll be doing radio for the first leg. It's CONCACAF is a whole different conversation when it comes to contracts because they have the rights to it, and it's been inconsistent on what's available and how to get it and how to make it work. And I also don't know if there's been any changes to the contracts this year in terms of the TV side that would preclude radio. It is up in the air at the moment what kind of coverage we're going to have in terms of radio or not TV. The game is scheduled to be on FS1 in English, and it will be on TUDN in Spanish. So it will be widely available on TV, but I don't know what Mike and I's plans will be as of yet. That's been a challenging part of the preseason is when we get into some of this CONCACAF stuff. They're not the biggest organization, and they've had a whole bunch of World Cup qualifiers to pull together here in all kinds of different places, and teams not following protocols and having to get games pushed back, and it's been a bit of madness. So fingers crossed that we'll have something in some form or fashion. We don't know what it's going to look like just yet. We won't be in Costa Rica. I do know that much.
Yeah. Obviously, with the world still being what it is.
Well, actually, Costa Rica is one of the places that is accepting American travelers at the moment because I know somebody who was going separately to visit friends. I don't know if you can go to the game, but I know you can go. It's a place where you can travel at the moment. Who knows? I mean, I can't wait till we get back into CONCACAF and get to travel again because it's one of my favorite things about the club is playing these matches internationally and getting to see the reaction to Atlanta United and other parts of the world. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. I mean, just you go back to the experience that we all had at Herediano, everyone who went down there and seeing the 17s that went and just the experience between the two fan bases. I was in the supporter section looking at all of the jersey exchanges and the cheering and just the mutual support and respect. And it was one of those cool moments. And honestly, it's one of those situations that I will never forget just because of the experience going down there and seeing everything the way that it laid out.
Okay, we've got a few things to get into before Mike joins us at 10 o'clock. A lot of stuff from the past couple of days with international matches. You do have a few more European qualifiers today. This show is now a Gareth Bale appreciation show. If you did not see Gareth Bale, maybe, possibly, allegedly, probably, maybe. I think very clearly line up our good friend Kudela, who plays for Sparta Prague, who racially abused, again, still allegedly, but it's kind of hard to argue it when they keep putting out statements complaining about a guy accidentally hurting their goalkeeper. Yeah, they did that again. Gareth Bale lined dude up. And he even threw a fake because he lines him up. It looks like he's going to go with the right elbow. He goes with the left and pops him. Gareth Bale, I will never say another bad thing about you again. Okay? I might have to bite my tongue a few times. But Gareth Bale, this is a Gareth Bale appreciation show from here on out.
Yeah, well, and the thing is that, I mean, as he lines him up, fakes him, and then comes in with the left, I mean, it went from the elbow about 3/4 of the way down the forearm. I mean, it was a full foot's worth of contact that Bale made with Kudela, and it was tremendous.
Yeah, he got him good. I mean, that was intentional. I don't know how it's not. We've had requests to show this, and I think I actually can with a pretty good shot right here. So give me just a second, and we will get that for you because it needs to be seen. It's that good. Again, Gareth Bale appreciation show. That's what we're all about here. All right. Let's see if this works. Yes. Enjoy. That's the aftermath.
Yes.
See, he takes the peek. Looks like it's going to be the right. Boom, it's the left. He didn't even see it coming. He jumps across to catch him with the left. I mean, he's probably lefty. Yeah. You know, we'll give still. That. But, yeah. It's impressive. I could watch that all day.
I honestly, I loaded that thing up, and I was showing anybody that would be wanting to see something like this, knowing the context. I'm like, hey, you've got to see this. You've got to see this.
Yeah, one more time. He takes the peek. Boom, right between the eyes.
Goes crossover, and then just bang.
It's amazing.
Thank you, Gareth Bale.
Thank you, Gareth Bale.
You're a dude. You're an absolute stud.
You're a dude?
You're a dude. Absolute stud for lining him up like
Gareth
that.
Bale, I apologize for my co-host's comments because he that's crazy.
You're a stud.
Dawn asks, do you see Gareth Bale as a future Atlanta player? I don't. I think he's making so much in salary, he just can't pull it off. He's not gonna. I mean, he's gonna play his year out at Real Madrid one way or another. He's gonna get that money. I don't think he comes over here. I don't know if he plays all that long, to be honest. I just don't think he enjoys it the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be a guy who plays like into his late 30s. I think, he's going to make this money. He'll get another good contract somewhere, but he's going to wind down. I do think he takes games with Wales very seriously. So he'll want to play and have a shot at 22 for sure. I don't know about 26. I really don't know if he's got that grinding element to say, you know what, if we don't get in this time, I'll stick around and try to get us into 26. I don't know. I could see him retiring young. I really could.
I could see him, I could see him trying to see if he could qualify for the European Tour for golf.
I don't know if he's any good at golf. I mean, let's be careful here. I mean, do you know his handicap or anything?
Not off the top of my head, but as much as he plays, you would hope that he'd do pretty well. Anything.
There's plenty of people who play every day and shoot 90 on a regular basis. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I would be one of those.
You don't play every day.
They don't play enough. And I don't know if this is the same with you, but the less you play and then you go back out, the better you are.
No, not at all.
That happens for me. It's like if I play regularly, I play progressively worse. But if I have a lot of gaps in between my rounds, I actually play pretty well.
Yeah, not at all. Because when I get into it, I really get into it, and I'll go to the range multiple times, and I'll go to the putting green and chip and stuff like that. So when I get into it, I get obsessed, and I haven't played in years, and I really want to, and I'm hoping this summer I'll get back into it a little bit. I understand the obsession of Gareth Bale with golf. I totally get it. I just don't know if he's any good to try to go to the European Tour. I'm not going to make that kind of a statement just yet, John.
Well, that is, you love it, you give it a shot.
No.
Plays off a handicap of 3 or 4.
He ain't playing in the European Tour.
Like what Tony Romo did.
Your handicap's 3 or 4. No. Tony Romo got invited to play in like a tournament or a pro-am or something. Was it even a full tournament?
I think it was a full tournament. It was like a Dallas. He got like the exemption to play in Dallas.
Yeah, yippee. That's very different than trying to play on the tour. Don't see it. Thad Dooley wants to do an SDH golf tournament. That can happen. That could definitely happen. There will be an SDH foot golf tournament for sure at some point as well, because that is just fun, and it'll happen here at some point. Let's get all the vaccinations going, and let's get things a little bit back to normal, and then we'll start to plan maybe for the second half of the year. Stay tuned. If you haven't seen the logo at the bottom of the screen, Big Peach Running Company, they're going to be on hand tomorrow at Red Hair Brewing in Marietta. It's kind of more in the middle, but that's okay, John. You can try. They're going to be with us, and they're going to have some specials for you guys. So thank you, Big Peach, for being part of the show, and thank you for supporting SDH. We hope to see you at future events as well. It's going to be a fun one tomorrow night. Kelly Francis is going to hang out with us as well. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about Alajuelense. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about MLS preseason because it's getting very, very close. Not even the teams who are in CONCACAF starting next week. It's just getting close to the season starting. We now know the schedule for Atlanta United 2 as well. That was published. More games at the same time as the first team this year than I remember.
Yep.
I'm assuming just the way the calendars worked out, and I think especially in USL, with a lot of teams wanting home games later in the season, the independent teams anyway, you've got the schedule you've got. I don't think it affects anything in terms of player availability because you make those decisions before the weekend anyway. You know, you're making that decision by Thursday or Friday at the latest if it's a Saturday game. Yeah, these guys are not going to be in the 18. They can play for Atlanta United too. So right. You'll be able to handle that. It won't hurt guys getting time. I just hope that with the vaccination situation, that if everybody is vaccinated, that there is not any issues with moving back and forth between MLS and USL, because that will be very beneficial for young players who need minutes. That'll be critical.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking about George Campbell last year not getting that opportunity for Atlanta United too because he was with the parent club and you couldn't shuffle back and forth and play for your USL team or your first team. And so, that's one of the biggest things that I'm hoping happens this year is that there's freedom to move and you're not just locked into one place, and that if you need time, you need minutes to go play with a second team, you can do that this year.
Jarrett, are you still with us?
No, Jarrett is not with us at the moment.
Oh, well, okay. Never mind. Rangers has had some issues, and I thought he might want to comment on that. He might enjoy it. We'll save that then. We'll try to get that in for him here in a little bit. Again, Mike Conti joining us at 10 o'clock. Some other things on the board for today. Alan Franco, some reports out of Argentina. Matias Martinez, who covers Independiente very closely, has reported that Franco passed the physical. Yay. Not really any worries. He hadn't had any major injuries in his career, but after what happened with Giannetti, you get through it. Same kind of deal was on the table. I mean, it's $2.8 million for 50%. There has been a lot of confusion about what the other 50% is or how it goes. I don't even know at this point. I don't know how it will get sorted out. I don't know. I'm sure everything will be locked down when the transfer goes through, but I don't know the parameters as of yet. And I don't know if we'll completely know those parameters ever, honestly, unless somebody gets a peek at the transfer deal. And knowing Argentine media, they might. But it's not important in terms of the Atlanta situation for now, because he's coming in for 2.8. It sounded like a 5-year deal beforehand. There are some bonuses that are factored in and stuff like that, but it looks like it's all a go with Alan Franco, and he will be coming to Atlanta United, as Gabriel Heinze said on the weekend in his media availability, just waiting on the T's to get crossed and the I's to get dotted. Other MLS stuff that came out in the last day or so. Orlando City, Daryl Dike, he ain't coming back. I just don't see it. He's done very well at Barnsley. Everton are now linked with interest. $20 million is the valuation, allegedly, from MLS, if Everton wants to sign him. Okay, if you get 20, do it. I think a lot of people criticized Orlando City and MLS for, I guess, reportedly turning down a $10 million offer. They got it right. 100%. You didn't need to accept a $10 million offer 3 months before the transfer window opened. That didn't make any sense. It's going to go up. It's going to be more than 10. If it's 15, 18, 20, if it goes up higher than that, whatever, you do it. You do it, you take it. Good for the league, good for the player, and Orlando City turns a really nice profit on a player they drafted and gave playing time to. I mean, he earned it, but they played him, and they're going to realize a really nice return on that. Then you see what they do with it. They have talent up top. I mean, it's not going to cripple Orlando City this season. You signed Alexandre Pato. You have other players. You didn't get time last year because of how good DK was doing. It's going to be okay. Now, Orlando City's the opener for Atlanta and MLS. Keep an eye on Nani. He is ailing from an unspecified injury, not taking part in the team's scrimmages in preseason. There's no timetable yet for when he will be back at full strength. Nani not playing in the preseason matches. Other injuries for Orlando. Joao Moutinho is recovering from hip surgery in December. He has not been playing. Kyle Smith has been playing during scrimmages. Orlando brought in Sam Gleadle, who was released by Minnesota United. He's on trial with them. He could fill in the gap. They also have some players with Orlando City B in the academy who they could sign to cover that. But Moutinho not available at the moment. It's Smith, and probably Gleadle will get a contract on a supplemental spot or something to back Smith up for at least the short term. Miami's preseason is in complete disarray. 3 preseason matches this week have been canceled. Club cited an abundance of caution for the health and safety of players and staff. They were going to play Charleston. They were going to play Red Bulls. They were going to play Nashville. Second time you've had a cancellation. They were going to play the Miami FC earlier in preseason. Members of that club tested positive for COVID. It's not good. They also canceled their media availability that was scheduled for today. So no idea what has happened with Inter Miami specifically in terms of COVID, but you've canceled 3 games through April 3rd, which is a short period of time. It's like 3 games. Oh, my goodness. But it is through, what, Sunday?
Yeah.
Saturday? Yeah. Let's wait and see. If you have positives, then, yeah, you're going to have to cancel games through a week. I don't know. Austin FC, Josh Wolf, manager, spoke to the media. They're excited about playing in this La Copita Tejas. It's a preseason tournament with the other MLS teams in Texas. Gives them I think a good launching point with competitive, in air quotes, games to get ready. Wolf said, when you start playing Houston and Dallas, 2 very good teams and 2 rivals of ours, it'll have another level of intensity to it, even though it's preseason. It gives us an opportunity to familiarize ourselves with some of the opponents we'll see this season. But it's still going to be about what we're able to do with the offensive ideas and certainly our defensive structure. And now they've been able to get into their training center as well. There are a bunch of pictures there. Had their first training session on Monday. $45 million facility for their soccer operations. The St. David's Performance Center is now open, and Austin's getting ready. I think they'll be a competitive team. I don't think they'll be as bad as Cincinnati was. I don't think they'll be as good as Nashville was. They won't be as dysfunctional as Miami was. I think they'll be a basic expansion team where they can be sniffing around a playoff spot for a while. I think ultimately they don't have a deep enough roster to get there, but they won't be an easy out. I think they're good enough defensively to make life difficult for opponents. I just don't see them really competing for a playoff spot. Now, mentioning Cincinnati, they are competing for a playoff spot, and they are going all in. Cincinnati Soccer Talk reports that you've got a couple of players that they're going to sign as part of the U22 initiative. An Ecuadorian center back in Gustavo Vallecilla, and a winger, Isaac Atanga. Vallecilla comes from Aucas in Ecuador, First Division. Spent time on loan last year with Barcelona in Ecuador. He played 18 times for them at Barcelona. Was originally thought to be going back there. He helped them win the league. They're playing in Copa Libertadores, but he's coming to Cincinnati instead, according to reports. Cincinnati Soccer Talk had it. Laurel Faller of Queen City Press reported it as well, and a league source confirmed Faller's report and that's what Cincinnati Soccer Talk went with. The winger, Isaac Atanga, he has been playing in Denmark. A lot of speed. 11 goals in 44 matches. A Ghanaian who it comes from the Right to Dream Academy, which I'm sure many people have heard of. Some graduates of that program, David Akam, Emmanuel Boateng, Abu Danladi, Edward Apoku, Josh Yaro, Emma Tuamasi. A number of players have made their way to MLS from the Right to Dream Academy. He's done very well in Denmark. 2 U22s that really gives them, the salary budget flexibility, the roster flexibility. Cincinnati's getting aggressive. I like it.
Yeah. You need to. You're moving into a new stadium. You're trying to shake off what everybody has been looking at from FC Cincinnati the last handful of years, being at the bottom of the standings and reputation and all that. You're trying to turn all that stuff around. So going all in makes a lot of sense.
Multiple reports. Christian Dyer had it first. Jeremiah Oshan has confirmed it independently. Craig Wybel is going from RSL to the Seattle Sounders. Garth Lagerwey previously made that move. So Seattle recruits their front office from Real Salt Lake. It happens again with Craig Wybel. He's going to replace Chris Henderson, who is now in Miami. That's a strong move. I mean, Wybel's done a good job with really no resources in Salt Lake, so makes sense. And he's worked with Lagerwey, so it all seems to fit together here. On the NWSL front, before we get to the top of the hour, they've added the sleeve sponsor that we talked about yesterday, Ally Financial, and it's an interesting one because there's a little bit more to it than just a basic sponsorship and being on the sleeve. They are developing a program to give a portion of the sponsorship fees directly to players, which is a new thing. I've never heard of anything like that. And they are working with the league on diversity, equality, and inclusion initiatives. So they're going to be involved on that side of things as well. That's great to see. Nationwide was announced as the league sponsor on Monday, so now 2 more league sponsors that you've added. In addition to the moves you made last year, I think the ball all got rolling with the 2019 edition of Budweiser. You didn't have this kind of stuff in the NWSL before the 2019 World Cup final and Budweiser stepping up. You didn't have it. They had that deal with Lifetime, and we talked about it when they broke that. It was risky because that took them off of TV for a minute. But the Lifetime deal included A&E selling sponsorships, and they didn't. They weren't selling them. There was nothing. Now, with Octagon involved and just forward momentum, you've added some heavy hitters to the NWSL corporate sponsorship side. That's massive for this league going forward.
No doubt. And the uniqueness of targeting it for individual players when it comes to the sponsorship, I thought that's an interesting initiative. It's very, very cool. I want to see how it implements and how it's distributed. But that's a very unique idea for a league that is trying to get a stronger foothold when it comes to what we see on a daily basis.
All right, John, start stretching.
Okay, well, before I'm going to stretch and I'm going to talk. Just a couple of other things that had to do with a couple of other teams real quick.
Okay.
Daniel Sturridge apparently is reportedly set to choose between a move to MLS and
Shut
the Premier
up.
League.
Shut up. Get out.
According to Eurosport.
Oh, yay. Eurosport's drunk. Nobody's signing Daniel Sturridge. He's been banned for a while. This comes up every few months. Garbage.
Yeah. Now that the ban is off the book.
Garbage.
According to the Daily Mirror, he's attracting interest from MLS.
Oh, no, even better. Hey, Daily Mirror.
Shut up!
Daniel Sturridge isn't coming to MLS. Come on.
DC United and Inter Miami, according to the Daily Mirror.
Okay, Inter Miami has Gonzalo Higuain, and they paid a bunch of money for a young Argentine, Julian Carranza, and a draft pick in Robbie Robinson. DC just signed a new young player from Bulgaria. They have Ola Kamara. They have Jordi Reyna. Again, Daily Mirror and Eurosport and anybody else reporting that.
Shut up!
According to James Walker Roberts, both clubs have reportedly made their interest known to Sturridge ahead of the news.
Stop! It's garbage. Who are they making it known to? Nobody cares. It's Daniel Sturridge. When was the last time he played? Years ago.
Yeah, Trabzonspor before the ban.
Oh, yay! He's not coming. It's not happening. Not to those two teams.
Yeah, the other piece of news really interesting for Austin FC, since you mentioned them. They announced that all regionally broadcast matches will be streamed live on the team's website through their official mobile app free of charge for fans in Austin and San Antonio metro areas.
Yeah, that's very cool. They kept the streaming rights out of any deals they were making so they could do something like that. And, I mean, it's a different landscape now, as as we're seeing with Sinclair and the Bally's Sports South and Bally's Sports Southeast and how difficult some of these things are. Austin signing a deal this year, I think it was a very savvy move to keep the streaming rights themselves. And they had to pay for it because you have to buy those from the league because the league would just lump those into something else. And you got to buy them. I think it's 6 figures. I think it's 100,000. Yeah. So good on Austin for doing that. It's a good setup. All right,
ready to go.
Hold on. Sam Williamson says, wish Atlanta would do the same. Sam, this is the problem. It's not Atlanta's fault. This has to be made clear real fast. Atlanta United sold the contract in 2017. Different landscape. Streaming, if you had done this in 2017, people would have rioted about not being able to watch it on Fox Sports Go. It's different now, but there's still a contract in place. The people you did business with sold it to somebody else, then they sold it to somebody else. But that contract is still valid. That's the problem. It's not like Atlanta United could do it and just doesn't. They're under contract, and that's where you're at right now. Anyway, John, tell us about Steve Apolinsky.
Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network for wrongful death and serious injury matters. There's only one place you need to go, Apolinsky & Associates, LLC. 3 different ways that you can do it. You can pick up the phone, 404-377-9191. You can get a free consultation that way. You can also shoot Steve an email, steve@aa-legal.com. He can answer you there. Or you can go on the World Wide Web, large device or small. Type into your address bar, aa-legal.com. Hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever gets you to that next section, and you can see the homepage for Apolinsky & Associates, LLC. If there's any question that you have involving a case, involving the firm, involving anything where Apolinsky & Associates, LLC are concerned, the answers could be on any of the tabs that you activate. If you still have questions, there's a pop-up window that activates, low right-hand corner, because that's what pop-up windows do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Thank you, Chris Hutchison. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for clients in 2 time zones in Georgia and Alabama. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia, although that is not the only recognition that they have received for all the hard work that they do. You can find that at the website. The website for Apolinsky & Associates, LLC is aa-legal.com. Bring on Mike.
You just blew through that last part, and I wasn't even ready for it, but that's okay. I expect you to do silliness at the end.
Hey, we were up against it. You were trying to bring Mike in.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about Daniel Sturridge.
Trying to get it in before the top of the hour.
John, I'm going to have to really teach you to not pay attention to the Daily Mirror anymore.
Well, actually, it was Eurosport who linked to the Daily Mirror.
What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. Can you call me back in 15 seconds? I'm trying to get a Skype reset on my computer.
Yes.
Okay, give me 15 seconds. In fact, I'm going to try to call you.
Oh, wait, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Okay, call me again in 15 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, guys.
No problem. All right. We're going to not count to 15 exactly, but we will talk about the scores real fast for John while we are delaying. 10 out of 10 from Dawn. A 1 out of 10 for bringing Daniel Sturridge to MLS BS from 4Card. I totally agree with 4Card. Pacine gives you a 10. Nick gives you a 9. 10 from Kefsey, an 8.7 with the Micro Machines read, an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, a 9, a 9.12, -1 for Mike's tech issues, but that's not on John. That's not fair. Mike gets a -3. Man, that's harsh. DM 10 with a 10. You got really good scores. You need to read it fast from now on, I think is what we've learned.
All right. So the Micro Machines read with the homage to John Machida is apparently the way to go.
Yes, it is what is popular with the people. Let's see if Mike's Skype is popular with the people.
Yeah, that worked. That was very, very weird. Huh. Very strange.
It's been weird for me, too. I had to do something strange to get my video to come up. So Skype is having some issues with us today.
Maybe it's the severe weather we're having around.
Just blame me. Everybody else does, Mike.
No, John.
Because of all of my technical lack of technical prowess. John's on the air.
When your technical issues do affect things, we talk about it, but we don't blame all technical issues on you. That's not fair. You're not controlling Skype. You're not the Skype overlord.
I'm not the god of Skype.
I hope not. We got a little bit of this. Philadelphia gets a deal done that we've talked about before. Leon Flack, a 20-year-old German-American midfielder from St. Pauli. Didn't really get through to their top team very often. I think he played 9 times off the bench in the second division in Germany. 2-year deal, 2 option years, undisclosed transfer fee. He's 20, so, he's won a little bit for the future. And Philadelphia's had success with signing these kind of unheralded players out of Germany, specifically. Kai Wagner has been pretty good for them, Mike, and he was like a third division guy. Flack, he hasn't found a home at St. Pauli. He's going to go into that midfield that they'd like to play 4 guys, so you need depth.
Yeah, no, good pickup. Really good pickup. We're at the point right now where we're getting really, really close to the start of the season, and teams are kind of assessing what they need and finalizing. So good move. Good move for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think it is too. We were talking a lot early in the show about Alajuelense, about CONCACAF Champions League, some of the things to look at. This Alajuelense team does have a lot of young players coming through, but they have relied mostly on their veterans. 30 years old and up. They could start a 35-year-old and a 37-year-old at center back. What we've seen so far from Atlanta is they are not afraid to push the pace. And it feels like the game is going to come down to that on Tuesday, where Atlanta's going to try to play as fast as they can and trade off some sloppiness against a team that probably doesn't want to get into a track meet with them.
Well, so here's where I'm wondering, because Alajuelense has been in great form all year. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of draws recently. Yep. You correctly say that they've been very, very veteran lately, but how much of that has to do with the fact that they've had so many players in Guadalajara for Olympic qualifying? Is that just coincidental or completely unrelated?
There's some relation to it, but not a ton. Going back, and I've got an update from the last couple of games for them, but you look at their guys who have played mostly, it's been the older guys. Diaz has started playing a little bit more. Ariola has started playing a little bit more, the 2 veteran center backs. The one guy that I think could play at center back and maybe should in this game is Fadron, who is the 20-year-old who was with the U23s. He's played the most at center back. It's kind of been a rotating cast back there. They're going to need a little bit of youth in that group. The right side could be another one where Ian Smith is younger than Salvatierra, who's 31. Salvatierra has played a lot more this season. The midfield is where I think, and I'm going off of a couple of quotes. You know how the managers are this time of year, though. They're cagey. But there was a lot of comments about Cubero, who is one of their central midfielders. He's 34. He's played 54 times for Costa Rica. Total veteran. He's played in Europe, over 300 games in Costa Rica. The guy can slot in and do whatever you need. But they talked about how he could play in the back if needed. He's primarily a holding midfielder. He is coming off an injury, but they have been playing him lately. I wonder if they're getting set up to sit maybe a little bit deeper with somebody like Cubero coming in, hoping Brian Ruiz can get on the ball and cause some magic. At 35, he's still got it in 1v1 situations. But then you're still going to be relying on 30-year-old forwards who have played the most lately. So I don't know. They've had to play some of the veteran guys a little bit more with the U23s away, but these guys have played a lot this season too.
Yeah. I think also, the general strategy of what you have to accomplish at home as opposed to on the road may go into the selection as well. When you're at home, you're really trying to guard against giving up a road goal. If you can get out of your home leg with a scoreless draw or a 1-0 win, you're going to be, you'd really be happy with a 1-0 win. You'd really be happy with a 2-0 win. But as long as you don't give up that road goal, you're going to give yourself a pretty good chance going up to Kennesaw the following week. So I wonder if that may come into play too with what they end up deploying on Tuesday night from a lineup standpoint. I'm going to defer to you because you've scouted Ariola. We're not doing the game on the radio, so I have not really done much scouting on Ariola, just very base level stuff. So I'm going to defer to you on a lot of what you're talking about right now. But I do think it is interesting, the approaches of the two managers as far as what they hope to get out of the first leg and what they hope to get out of the second leg and how the lineups are going to correspond to that, I think will be very, very interesting.
Yeah, Mike, in the first hour, we kind of went through some of the numbers, and having me do long division during the first hour of the show is always a challenge. And, hey, it's true. It's very true. There were 3 matches before the U23 tournament where, in league, where Ariola scored a total of 11 goals. And they've scored 30 in 15 matches. If you take those 3 out, it was against the bottom 3 teams in the table. In the 12 matches that are left on the board, they've only scored 19 goals. So goals are a bit of an issue. Their goals per game average goes from 2 to 1.4. Then we were talking about the league, and the league loves the draw because over 40% of the games in league this year are draws. And so you have all of these numbers coming at you, and then you have the guys that go to the U23 tournament. You have 7 players leave, and there's no offense there as well. And the game that they had 2 games ago was a real ugly game. So, there's you wonder about Ariola offense, but you have the veteran guys who can do those kinds of things. So you've got a lot of different numbers and ideas coming at you for this first leg when it comes to what you might be able to get from Ariola.
Yeah, and they've got a head start. They've got a big head start. They've been playing for months. Atlanta United has not. Atlanta United's had a very intense, month and almost a half long training camp, and they've played a couple, not friendlies, but just kind of not really even scrimmages, just, mixed groups playing against mixed groups. So, Ariola does come in with, I think, a pretty substantial competitive advantage because they do have that head start. And a lot of the things that Atlanta United's going to experience Tuesday night in Costa Rica are, unfortunately, just things you cannot simulate on the training ground or in a match against Birmingham Legion on a wet field. So, I'm trying to figure out the most polite way of putting this. It's very, very difficult to apply what has happened in the Costa Rican League season to what could potentially happen Tuesday night, I feel. It's tough because we're looking for, and I get where you guys are going with this. It's tough. We're looking for bits of information that we kind of can latch on to and help explain what Atlanta United might be dealing with against this opponent on Tuesday. But there is, I feel, just kind of a roll of the dice element to all of this as well. And I think there's been so much mystery about what Atlanta United has done in this training camp, too. It's not even like last year when we were going into the Motagua tie, and, we saw Atlanta United play a full-fledged friendly in Birmingham. We saw them play a full-fledged friendly in Guadalajara against Leones Negros. We saw them play a full-fledged friendly against Ellsberg down at IMG. And there wasn't as much roster turnover from 2019 to 20 as there has been in 20 to 21. So it's really, really, really tough to pick out things that have happened in Ariola league season and say, well, that might mean this on Tuesday night, because quite honestly, I want to see Atlanta United go out and dictate the terms of this match and make Ariola adjust to the way that Atlanta United has to play, not the other way around. And that might be a very, very difficult task against a side that has played for weeks and weeks and weeks together against Atlanta United, who's playing their first match since December.
But that's going to be your game plan, because that's the mentality of Gabriel Heinze. is to dictate the match. And it's the philosophy of Atlanta United. We've had this conversation, and Tata Martino has said it, Stephen Glass said it, Tony Annan said it, Frank de Boer said it. All of them have said it because it's you want to be in control of the game. You want to dictate the way the game's played. How much in the 90 in Costa Rica, which is the first competitive game for Atlanta United in this new era with Gabriel Heinze, with a bunch of new players, how much of the 90 can they control is what it's going to come down to for me. They won't control the whole 90. There will be moments in it where Alajuelense will have the run of the play. They've got veterans who can handle things. They're not going to be overawed by anything, you know? I mean, they're not going to go into a turtle shell against the big bad Atlanta United coming into town. But the way Atlanta plays, it will make it difficult for a team that we haven't seen a ton of because the league is not the easiest to get footage on for us anyway. I'm sure the team has plenty. But we know they play almost exclusively in a 4-4-2. We know the characteristics of a lot of the players. We know some things about them that will help them, but we also know that Atlanta United can exploit some of this. The biggest challenge for Alajuelense, in my mind, is going from playing in a league where it is, with a lot of teams in this league, approaching Alajuelense is going in not to lose. Teams go in and play very negatively, very anti-football against Alajuelense because they can't compete. Now they have to go from playing that week in and week out to playing a team that will do the exact opposite and try to control the game against them. That can be a bit of whiplash for Alajuelense, and how they handle that's going to go a long way in this.
It's a good point. Atlanta United is definitely not going to play negatively under Heinze. I mean, there's zero question about that. However, there is probably also going to be an element of Atlanta United perhaps playing not to lose a little bit. And by the way, this is two different things. This is two different things we're talking about. You can play not to lose and still play very positive attacking soccer. But the match may end up morphing a little bit tactically as it goes on, where, I mean, if Atlanta United has a road goal and they're 1-1 in the 80th minute, I think you might see the tactics change a little bit for Atlanta United, and, you know, you might be playing very, very, I'm not even going to say negatively, deliberately.
Pragmatic?
Good.
Yes. I'm going to tell you guys, I don't expect that to happen. Okay. I don't expect Atlanta United to play in that manner. They might be pushed back, and they might be pushed into a more defensive posture. I don't see defensive subs to see a game out. I don't think that's the way that Heinze will approach it. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. This is a different situation for him. You know, it's one thing when you're playing in knockouts in Copa Argentina, or he's been in group stage in Copa Sudamericana. It's different when it's game one of your whole season. And he's been really clear in talking about a couple of things that I think need to be kept in mind. He can't say today, this is a team that can win MLS Cup. And he won't say it. He's been very careful to manage what, you know, will define success for the team. You could play well and get a bad result in Costa Rica. He could be very happy coming out of that, but you could lose 2-1 or you could lose 3-1. But play the way that he wants to, that he feels like is going to serve this team going forward, and you'll get more chances later. But I think he's going to be really focused on that. I think it's going to be on the way they play more so than managing this for a result specifically. And you've got the talent to where that should be fine. You just hope that the team is sharp enough in the moments they need to be to handle the game here, because you want to see them move on with a draw that is very manageable to go to the semifinals of this competition.
Well, that's interesting. That feels a little bit different.
I think the season's going to feel different. I think that's a really good way to put it.
I mean, this is the third time that Atlanta United has been in Champions League, and that's a much different feel than the first 2 years they were in Champions League. And that, by the way, that has nothing to do with individuals or certain managers or anything like that. It's just Wow, okay, that's really, really aggressive.
Actually, let's go back to 2019 real quick, because a lot of people said Frank de Boer was overly aggressive in Herediano, starting George Bello, not playing very defensively in that game, and he got punched in the mouth a little bit, handled it fine in the second leg, and then not conservative enough against Monterrey, which is a different situation entirely, because then you're playing a team that is more talented than you. Right. It flipped. That won't be the case in this. You're playing a team that you have more talent than. And I think that's why you will see the team play to its principles for the 90. The only things I could see would be if, for example, if Alajuelense is playing two up top and it's been a struggle for Sosa. Let's say they don't want to go to three in the back. They decide that Sosa is going to sit a little bit deeper, help protect, be that auxiliary center back, and it's not working out. I could see a sub for a third center back in that, which isn't defensive, just changes the configuration a little bit. I could see stuff like that. I could see the wing backs holding back a little bit more, the outside backs holding back a little bit more at times, but I don't see defensive moves or a change to a defensive posture in this. I'm not expecting it.
Even if they're up 2-1 or 2-0 or 3-0 in the 85th minute?
I think his approach is always, and it depends on the game too. And look, you could be up 2-1 in our hypothetical and be flying, and he might say, we can kill it here. Let's go get the third. Or you could be up 2-1 and you could have guys puking on the sideline because they're exhausted because they haven't been in the situation and say, we want to go kill it here, but I don't want to clean up the vomit, so we're going to sit back a little bit.
That's a nice morning visual.
There you go.
That can happen too. It's going to be really fascinating. I think the one thing that they have done, Atlanta United has done a remarkably good job of, to the frustration of some, and I do get it, is just really keeping anything meaningful under wraps as far as what this could potentially look like, what the lineup could even look like. I have I think a very, very reasonable guess as to what Atlanta United's starting 11 is going to look like on Tuesday night. We can do it now. We can do it on stoppage time later. It's totally up to you guys.
Let's tease it for stoppage time.
But okay, even if we know what the lineup is, there's still so much I don't know. And I think the biggest question of all is, and I was not in Birmingham. John, were you in Birmingham? You were tweeting a lot on Sunday. Were you there?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So I'll pose the question to you, because accounts of what happened Sunday in Birmingham have been variable.
Yeah,
probably a fair way to put it, right? The accounts have been variable. So, in your opinion, based on what you saw, and again, keeping in mind that I don't think they had a first-choice 11 out there all at once at any point. From a chemistry standpoint, what did you think it looked like?
I mean, you had relationships that were continuing to grow. I mean, in game 2, or however you want to phrase it, the second 70 minutes, on the right-hand side, you saw Brooks Lennon and Jake Mulroney, who looked like they were really in tune with one another. So you would see those kinds of relationships. You would see, on the left-hand side, you would see, Barco working his way through the middle of the field, and then
hold on. Was Barco on the left wing, or was he playing centrally again?
Playing centrally again. I'm jumping back and forth.
I know that's an important one, because that's been one of the big talking points.
Yeah.
So I wanted to clear that up. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Working centrally, having folks off to his left, and working with Machop Chol on a really crappy crown. And, to me, you would see relationships with players. I know that one of Birmingham's focuses was to make sure that Joseph didn't get his. And so it had to come from other places. You saw, the relationships at the back with Miles and George Campbell and Bello working his way centrally when the opportunities presented themselves. You saw guys who were growing into the ideas I think that Gabriel Heinze wants his players to do. And so I was looking at it more from those kind of relationships like I was talking about with Brooks and Jake that you saw in that second 70 minutes. I was looking just more than anything about progression and seeing if the guys were being aggressive in stepping into the play, even if they're, like Josh Bauer in the second 70 minutes, if he saw an opportunity to engage in the play and move a fair distance forward to be a part of the offensive push, he would do that. Same with Miles in the first 70 minutes. Miles had an opportunity to dribble for a long batch of space. He would do that. He went from the back, and he was part and parcel to the front section of the play. So for me, it was all about relationships. It wasn't necessarily about play here did this, play two did this, play three.
Yeah.
But for me, it was about relationships.
Yeah, and I'm really, really glad to hear that. And that I think that's a really, really fair summation of what happened on Sunday. I guess what I'm trying to say is this: because we got to watch so much preseason action last year, I kind of had a feeling going down to Motagua. Yeah, Pitti and Joseph, they've got a little mojo going. They looked pretty good together in the preseason. It wasn't perfect, but it was really, really close. Barco looked great in the preseason. You knew you had the injury to Miles, but, they were obviously defending extremely well. I think they only gave up 1 or 2 open play goals the entire preseason. So, you had a general idea going down to Motagua. All right, they're ready. This is what it's going to look like. And I'm not saying that Atlanta United's not going to be mentally ready for Tuesday, but I just don't know if the product is going to be polished enough on Tuesday where we're going to watch that match Tuesday night and say, yeah, wow, Atlanta United looked really sharp. They might not. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's created so much mystery about this. But I think, again, it's a credit to Gabby and the technical staff and the club, where they have really not given us much of a window at all into what this is going to be on Tuesday. And it's going to put Atlanta United, we talk about competitive advantage, and Alo Walense playing all these matches leading up to Tuesday night. Well, Atlanta United may have created a little competitive advantage for themselves, too, because there is literally nothing to scout.
Yeah, by not showing anything, you're causing your opposition to have questions, and I think that's as much of a plus as anything.
And I'm going to guess again in Birmingham. I know that was open to the public. I know media was there. For all I know, Alo Walense could have flown someone up there with binoculars.
Mm-hmm. I would bet that they did.
They probably did. But again, from what it sounds like, I don't think Atlanta United had the lineup that they're going to play on Tuesday on the pitch at the same time on Sunday.
No.
So there's only so much you can take out of something like that.
Yeah, from what we know, they haven't put together, I think, the starting 11 that I would expect to see. They haven't played together yet in preseason. And I know some people have really worried about that. I'm not, because I would assume they've worked together a whole lot on the training pitch. And this is not about okay, with this group we play this way, and then if you put Barco here and he plays with this guy, then it would play in a different way. No, the way that you're trying to implement that the team plays this season is consistent across the lines. I think you've learned a lot more this way. You've learned that Machop Chol could be a player who factors in MLS more than I expected this year. He's played with top guys around him, and he's looked like he fits right in. There's been no worry about him being up to the task. I think we've seen some different mixing and matching that could serve well. George Campbell's played with Miles Robinson. We saw that against Charleston. Okay. The thought that, when we know the Alan Franco thing is coming, and it sounds like it's progressing even further now, but he's not going to be there Tuesday. So is it Anton Walks? Is it George Campbell? Maybe it's Campbell. I wouldn't have expected that coming into it. I would have thought it's Walks. But they played together. Maybe that's it. Maybe you learn that doesn't work the way you want, and you want to turn to Walks. You've been able to learn some different things rather than just playing your first 11 and playing your second 11. So we'll see what you take out of it. I do want to get into this with you, Mike, because we've done the defensive group rankings. We've done the midfield group rankings. We have the attack left in MLS. This is where I think Atlanta has their best group going into the season. I have them second in MLS in terms of the attacking group. And remember, the way I kind of did this was the defensive group, including the goalkeeper, the midfield group, central midfielders, not including wingers. Wingers are with the attacking group. So I've got Columbus as the best, with Jossie Zardes, with Kevin Molino now, and with Pedro Santos. I think going into the season, it's kind of hard to argue that one. They are really good.
No, can't argue that.
I've got Atlanta second with the return of Joseph. With now it appears it'll be Marcelino Moreno on one side and Jurgen Damm on the other.
Yep.
That's a really good pedigree. LAFC is next, and the reason they're behind Atlanta is when you compare, and people will say, well, Damm and Moreno, the forward for LAFC, I don't know who it is. Is it Corey Baird, who's good, but is it Danny Musovski? There's a but there, too. Vela, Rossi, no problems. Two of the best. But who's the third guy? I don't know. And that has to ding them behind Columbus and Atlanta, in my opinion.
Where do you have Miami?
I've got Miami in the top 10. I have them, let me do the quick math, 8th.
Okay.
I've got Philadelphia next after LAFC. And their attacking group, remember, it's different because they don't really play the wingers. It's two forwards. And I'm very high on Kasper Shabilko, maybe more than most. I think he's one of the best players in the league. And Sergio Santos was one of the best players in the league last year. And if that's your two, Corey Burke could push into that. Shabilko and Santos is an incredible pair, and I think that attack is really powerful.
I agree. And then what after Philadelphia?
Sporting is next. Pulido, he's got to stay healthy, and that's been an issue again now. He gets injured on national team duty. But Pulido, Johnny Russell. Johnny Russell's one of the best players in the league. Who's the third guy? And I think it's going to be Gadi Kinda, who's going to move from inside to the wing, because I think Busio will play that 10. And if it's Kinda, Russell, Pulido, that's really good. If they don't answer the third guy question that it seems like a lot of teams are going to have, they could be a little bit further back. Pulido's excellent, though. He's just got to stay healthy.
What about Portland?
Portland is right outside the top 10. I've got Chicago next, which might be a surprise. Beric, outstanding up top. I think it's going to be a big year for Ignacio Aliceta. Now, this was assuming that Stanislav Ivanov would be a really good signing coming over from Bulgaria. He's injured. So now what do they do on that other wing? They might slide back before the season starts because of that.
Yeah.
That's a potentially a big loss. After that, it is New England, then Miami, Dallas, San Jose, Portland.
Okay.
Anybody outside of that you think should be higher in terms of the attacking line, the attacking group?
Did I miss Toronto?
I was going to ask about Toronto.
I've got them further back because forward, Josie, we know the questions. Akinola, very good. But out wide, and I'm expecting Chris Armas to play a 4-3-3 variant, so have wingers. We know centrally you can play some combination of Delgado, Osorio, Bradley, Pozuelo, which means you could play a 4-4-2 diamond if you want. That's going to be two up top. Do you go Josie and Ayo Akinola up top together? It's intriguing. But if you go with wingers, you're going to throw Pozuelo into one, but then who's the other one?
Yeah.
Is it Tsubasa Endo? Is it Nick De Leon? Is it Erickson Gallardo? I don't have the answer to that yet. They could definitely be higher by the time we get into the season, but I don't know what their attack looks like yet. That's why I've got them lower.
Columbus is unassailable.
Yeah.
Unassailable on Columbus. I think Atlanta United potentially, though, could be right there or even at the top of that group by the end of the season. I think, again, it's a lot of things that I don't even want to say need to be worked on. I mean, that sounds...
Evolve?
No,
yeah, evolve.
I think it's just Joseph getting healthy. I mean, I think if Joseph's healthy, if Joseph scores 20-plus goals, and Jurgen Damm and Moreno are there in that front line with him, that's one of the best attacks in the league.
Yeah.
There's not going to be many that are better. Minnesota is a wild card shout. They haven't gotten Wanchope Abila yet. If they do, that front line is pretty good with him, with Ethan Finley on one side. Who the other winger will be it should be Robin Laud. So Laud, Finley, and Abila. If they get him, they'll jump up into the top 10, I think. Reynoso's in the midfield group, so I mean he's not exactly an attacker. He's more of a 10, old school kind of 10.
So then let me ask you this: how much of a loss is Jordan Morris to your Seattle ranking?
They're in the middle, and probably they're one that I could see going the other way. Rui Diaz is really good, but if they're going to play two up top, I don't think that works as well. And Schmetzer's talked about it. If they go with wingers, they don't have any. They've got, as wingers on their roster right now, Kellen Rowe can play out wide. Okay. Shandon Hoppo and Ethan Dobelair, two youngsters, homegrown signings, barely any minutes in MLS. If you go two up top, which I'm guessing this is why he's thinking about it, because he doesn't really have any wingers. Is it Rui Diaz and Montero? How much are you going to get out of Freddie Montero at 33?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he scored yesterday in a scrimmage against Portland. That got everybody riled up. But I'm not high on Seattle's attack without Jordan Morris. I could see them sliding the other way because I just don't think they're going to have a whole lot of options to play. They don't have wide players that can do this. I mean, even if you look in the back, like, sure, you could play Nuhu as a left winger because he's crazy as a left back, and you might want to have somebody who actually stays home. But the right side, I mean, you're converting Alex Roldan to right back permanently, it looks like. You don't really have another right back. So, I mean, you're going to have to push somebody out wide. Do you throw Christian Roldan out wide because he's their problem solver? He's not as good out wide. I think Seattle is... If they don't make any big changes, I think Seattle will be the team that takes the biggest drop in 2021. That's my bold prediction of the day.
That's not too bold.
Hopefully that happens sooner rather than
Yes.
later, because Atlanta United sees them very early in their schedule.
Yes, for sure. The question came up about Orlando with Daryl Dike. I don't expect him back. I've got them just outside the top 10 as well. Cincinnati's right outside of that top 10, and they could be a surprise. Orlando, for me, without DK, the biggest question is Alexandre Pato. Is he the Pato that we remember from like 10 years ago or maybe longer, or is he broken down? And we're not going to have an answer on that for a while. If he's broken down, is it Mateus Ayas? Is he going to be what was expected when he was signed? He played 16 minutes last year. We don't really have an answer to that yet either. And I don't know what their wing situation looks like. Nani hasn't played in preseason. Some kind of injury, so that's one to keep an eye on for Atlanta United fans. You know, do you get Sylvester Vanderwater, the Dutch player, coming in? Does he hit the ground running? Alvarado, who only played 25 minutes last year, he's got talent. Mueller is coming off of a big year, but kind of fell off towards the end. Benji Michel should be primed for a bigger year. It's a confusing attacking group for Orlando at this point. I don't know what the front three is when we see them on the 17th.
All right, then I was going to say, then I guess by process of elimination, you kind of answered my question, but who's going to be better, DC or Cincinnati? Is it Cincinnati with all of their acquisitions that they've continued to make?
Not even close to me. Cincinnati will be a whole lot better than DC, I think. I think DC is going to be the worst team in the league. They might be one of the most fun teams to watch, but I think the record-wise, they're going to be the worst team in the league. I don't think they have the roster to play the way they want.
Because of what we're anticipating from DC being giving up as many goals as they score and having a bunch of 5-4s and whatever. And that's why I was asking that question.
Well, I mean, we're going off of what he did with another team in Belgium, but I just don't think they have the players to play the way that Aaron Losada wants. And he's going to have to make a tough decision about, do I roll with the kids who are going to be willing to play the way I want and run through walls, or do I have to play the guys that we've paid a good bit of money for who maybe don't fit? And I don't know what direction he goes. It's a tough job for him because I don't think they have a lot of talent. And the Eastern Conference, outside of D.C., and I'll include Cincinnati in it, the Eastern Conference is going to be a street fight.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
I would, just off the top of my head, I think Cincinnati going into this season is in a better spot than D.C., in a better spot than Montreal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in the same ballpark as Chicago.
It's funny. We talk about D.C., and hold on. Ian Mitchell-Moore is reporting that D.C. United is going to cancel the Paul Ariola loan as nightmare Swansea City spell comes to an abrupt end.
Yeah.
He's made 3 appearances for Swansea, and it looks like D.C. might be a little bit better than we thought, getting Paul Ariola back.
A lot better.
What is wrong with your Swans, John? Why are they having nightmare loan spells? Why do they hate Americans?
That is a question that, it drives me crazy.
Ian Mitchell-Moore is a football writer for Wales Online, by the way.
Yeah. You screw over Bob Bradley.
Yep.
Then you bring in Jordan Morris, and Jordan Morris gets injured when he's there.
That's bad luck.
And then you don't give Ariola any minutes. Yeah, it just drives me crazy, and I'm sure it will continue to feed a really stupid narrative about Americans playing in the English football ladder.
Yeah, I'm with you, though, Mike, about Cincinnati. I think going in, they're better than a few teams at least, and they've got the potential to be a surprise with a lot of these young players they're bringing in that we kind of have to see, and we have to see if Jaap Stam can play a little bit more openly. I think he will because he'll have more talent to do it, but how long does it take for that to look comfortable? I don't know.
And I also think, I know it sounds silly, I think they could get a new stadium bounce.
Yeah,
that does
absolutely.
happen.
Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot of exciting things surrounding Cincinnati this year. I love how ambitious they have been in this offseason. I think sometimes even, the players who had been there for a year or two, when you see the front office be ambitious, that can give you a little bit of a boost too. So I just think from an intangible standpoint, Cincinnati's got a lot of positive momentum going into this season. I don't know if they're going to be better than Chicago. I don't know if they're going to be better than Toronto. I don't know if they're going to be better than Nashville.
No,
but I think they can. I think they might be in the same group as Miami. And by the way, again, this is a compliment to them. This is not anything other than a compliment. I think this speaks to just how good this league is going to be this year, and in particular, just how good the Eastern Conference is going to be. I can't really look at anyone in the Eastern Conference and say, yep, that's an easy 3 points. I don't see it that way this year.
Yeah, even DC, who I think will be the worst team, it's not going to be an easy 3 points. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind about them. It echoes something that Pep Guardiola said about their schedule coming up with Champions League. They play Leeds in between the 2 legs of the quarterfinal. And Pep said Leeds is the worst team to play because you know what kind of game you're going to get. At DC, I think they'll be one of the weaker teams in the Eastern Conference and in the whole league, but you know you're going to be in to run a lot in that game. Yeah. You know what they're going to do in terms of the way that they play. From what we know of Hernan Losada, it's going to be very Bielsa-esque. And, yeah, you might win 5-2, but you're going to pay for it because they're going to make you work. It'll be an easy 3 points in terms of quality. It might not be an easy 3 points in terms of workload.
Yep. Yeah, it's exciting. I know you just tweeted this, Jason. I guess Ariola aggravated his quad injury, so he's going to be out for at least 6 weeks.
Yep. So they get him back, but it's not like they're going to really get him back anytime soon. So then he's got to get back to fitness. I don't know if he ever really got to fitness. Weird situation. Weird situation all the way around.
I don't know if there's been a less lucky American-born player in the last 13 months than Paul Ariola.
Yeah, that's a good point. One last question, Mike, before we let you go. Martha asks, what East matchup with Atlanta United are you looking forward to the most?
That's funny. Darren asked me that the other night before the town hall, and I said Orlando just because it's the first one. But, I mean, really drilling down to it as far as strengths complementing each other, I know I'm bullish on this team. I'm really eager to see Atlanta United play Nashville.
Yep.
I'm just really, really eager to see Nashville now with Joseph back and, potentially with an attacking quintet of Joseph, Moreno, Dom, Barco, and Hindman.
How's that for firepower?
And that, by the way, is a tease for stoppage time at 2 p.m. as well. Potential first choice starting 11. How's Nashville with Walker Zimmerman, that very good back line and that solid spine, going to deal with that attacking quintet, especially in the month of May, late May, when Atlanta United will have had 2 months' worth of matches and other work to really get the chemistry and continuity to where it needs to be. I think that's a really fascinating game. And plus, as Jason and I talked about last week, that's right before you go on your June international break. So it's going to be really important to get something positive going into that. That's one that just really, really stands out to me because I think Nashville's strength really, really challenges Atlanta United's strength. And it's going to be the immovable object against the irresistible force. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's save some stuff for this afternoon. We got stoppage time at 2.
Yeah, we do. 2 p.m. on the 92.9 The Game Facebook page, and I really hope people are registering for trivia tonight. I'm hoping a lot of people tonight.
We've also got that.
Have you prepared your Penn State block of questions, Mike?
There'll be no Penn State block of questions. Our soccer history is, it's proud.
It's not bad.
Walter Barr did a great job there, but no Penn State questions. I saw Santa's tweet. I wish I could do Penn State questions. It'd take me about 2 minutes to write them up, but no Penn State questions tonight.
Maybe we'll have a college soccer round in one of our future trivia nights. We don't have it this time around.
Wow. I mean, we want people to have fun and not be overly challenged.
It's multiple choice, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
It'll be fun. We'll see you at 2, and then we'll see you again for our trivia night tonight.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Be good, Mike.
See ya.
All right, we got about 15 minutes before we end the shenanigans this morning. We didn't really get into a couple of things I wanted to. The Champions League revamp is going to be pushed back just a little bit because they're arguing about money. No surprise. UEFA wants a minimum guarantee to protect the money they're bringing in. The clubs, of course, want more money to have more games, which is fairly understandable as well. It is pretty well established that it'll be 36 teams in the Champions League after the qualification rounds, 10 games for everybody who's in that. It'll be that Swiss system kind of schedule. The one thing that jumped out to me with everybody talking about, MLS has so many teams in the playoffs, it sounds like what they would do is the top 8 teams of the 36 would go into the round of 16. The next best 16 teams, which 8 plus 16 is 24. Thank you, John. They would go. Something. Yay! They would go into a 2-leg playoff to complete the round of 16 bracket. So you're going to play 10 games across 36 teams to eliminate 8 teams. Okay. Next time anybody from Europe says something about MLS's playoff structure, remind them of the Champions League. Also, you'll have Champions League games on Thursdays. That was previously only Europa League. Europa League's supposed to be 32 teams, but they will do a similar kind of Swiss system, but not the exact same thing. They're going to play, instead of 6 group games, they're going to play 8. This will get talked about today in an executive committee meeting. It won't be finalized until an executive committee meeting on April 19th when they can sort out the money stuff. Today we've got Poland and England in a World Cup qualifier. Poland has 3 new COVID cases, 2 players and a staff member. The press officer who had to announce it, that's kind of rough. Lewandowski out with the knee injury. That is this afternoon. A lot of big wins yesterday. People started freaking out like, Netherlands won 7-0 over Gibraltar. Well, maybe you shouldn't have these games happen because they're not really all that meaningful, are they? Belgium 8-0 over Belarus. We talked about Japan 14-0 over Mongolia. Maybe you do what CONCACAF does. Maybe CONCACAF had it right in this situation. I don't know. Just saying. Again, this is a Gareth Bale appreciation show. Good job. Keep elbowing racists. Yes. Mexico beat Honduras in the Pre-Olympico final that didn't mean anything except pride. It was a good game. Great goal from Honduras. Goes to penalties. Mexico ends up winning it. Silly season stuff. So you got Kylian Mbappe, who is not going to go to the Olympics. He said he's not going to go, which I didn't know that was really in play too much, because he wants to decide where he's going to go next. Reports that Real Madrid now have decided they want to get Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe, and they might throw Vinicius into the deal to go the other way to make this happen. AS reports that PSG would take Vinicius to make this happen. Marcel Sabitzer, he wants to leave Leipzig. He's linked to Tottenham, Liverpool, and Manchester United. I know Tottenham had reportedly been very interested in January. Erling Haaland, Mino Raiola's talking. I don't care. He's going to keep talking. Blah, 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 blah. He was right. Everybody was wrong. He knew what he was doing. Oh, maybe he was too careful. Mino Raiola stopped talking. People stopped putting a microphone in front of him. Of course, the Daily Mail's going to have his quotes because that's what they do. Manchester City reportedly is prioritizing a move for Haaland. Real Madrid, Chelsea are the ones that allegedly are going to really push here. Manchester United wants him, but they're not going to get into an auction for him. The alternatives are where things get interesting, and you're hearing Harry Kane's name come up with Manchester City. You're hearing Lukaku's name come up with Manchester City. You're also hearing Manchester City wants Jack Grealish, but Aston Villa wants £100 million. City wants a left back as well. It sounds like financial fair play might not matter anymore, so go have at it. Paul Pogba wants to go to Juventus, according to Gianluca Di Marzio in Sky Sports Italia. They're trying to lower their wage bill. He's on a fat contract. He's buddies with all these guys. He's even in a WhatsApp group with Andrea Pirlo, according to Di Marzio. So, that'll seal it. That could mean that if Pogba goes to Juventus, there is a report from papers in Turin that Paulo Dybala could go to Manchester United. And if they don't get Haaland, then maybe they bring in Paulo Dybala. Okay, it's not bad. Rafael Santos Borre from River Plate thought it was done. He was going to Gremio. All the bombas were out. He's going to Gremio. It's done. Nope. Gremio said, we don't want to be any part of this. They are backing out due to, quote, translated quote, the insecurity generated by the athlete's hesitation. He won't make a decision. Sao Paulo and Palmeiras have also backed out, allegedly, of going after Rafael Santos Borre. And Abel Ferreira had the greatest quote about this I've ever seen. He's the technical director of Sao Paulo. He said when they put a deal in front of Borre and he said he was thinking about it, Ferreira said, when I asked my wife to marry me, it didn't take her 2 months to respond. Wow.
Great.
Yeah, people aren't happy with Borre. Also, allegedly, and TNT Sports in Argentina has reported that Brighton has put an offer in front of Borre, and he wants to play in England. So that might be why he was waiting and leaving Ferreira on one knee in front of him, I guess. Borre to Brighton. They'll probably send him on loan to a second division team.
There you go. I was waiting for that.
Dummies. Lukaku, you got City and Chelsea who are reportedly interested. Chelsea had him. They didn't rate him, and then he left, and now he could come back. That's strange. Jadon Sancho could go to England, but Manchester United's not paying anywhere near £100 million. They think it's more like 50 to 60. They're waiting to see what Dortmund will say. We've talked about Grealish. £100 million is what Villa is rating him at. Sergio Aguero, according to Fabrizio Romano, Barcelona have opened talks. Memphis Depay is high on that list, though, and allegedly Ronald Koeman wants Depay more than Aguero. PSG have asked for info about what the salary would be for Aguero. Juve and Chelsea, not interested. Manchester United rumors on Aguero, 100% fake, according to Fabrizio Romano. 100% fake.
Fake.
That's what they say. Serie A told Lazio, you guys are stupid. We talked about this with the Lazio-Torino thing, and how Torino was told not to travel to Rome by local health authorities, and Lazio wanted to play the game, and league officials wanted them to play the game, and there was nobody there to play because Torino followed the health authorities' rules about not traveling. Lazio wanted a 3-0 win awarded to them. That was rejected by Italy's Sports Court of Appeal on Tuesday. Torino were also facing a 1-point deduction for not showing. Lazio could now appeal to the Italian Olympic Committee Guarantee Board. This sounds really familiar. Why? Oh, it already played out this way once before with Juventus and Napoli. So why are we doing this again? This already happened. You gave a forfeit. It was ruled down by the Sport Court of Appeal. The Olympic Committee struck down the point deduction. They made him reschedule. Why are we doing the dog and pony show, Italy? It's a waste of everybody's time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be stupid. Real Madrid hope that Zinedine Zidane is going to come back. Now that's changed. Instead of pushing him out, now they're hoping he will decide to stay. They're waiting to see what he wants to do. If he leaves, it's either going to be Jogi Löw or Raul, is what it sounds like. And they're feeling a lot better about Raul. He is at Real Madrid Castilla, the second team. They won the UEFA Youth League title over Benfica in 2020. Raul was on the touchline for that. In the Segunda B, they have got 17 of the last 21 points available. They've progressed to the next stage of the competition. It could get promoted to the second division. Raul is doing very well, and they might just stay in-house and hire Raul rather than Jogi Löw. All right, questions on Twitter before we go. We got, I'm going to give it 8 minutes.
Okay.
Go.
Well, we've only got a couple. So.
Okay. Twitch pitch, 8 minutes.
Rich Ransom. How much is the disappointment of missing the Tokyo Games is about the words Olympics or development? It sounds more of the anger is missing the event, the opening ceremonies, the Olympic spirit, etc.
Yep.
If it's not about development, Olympic, while important, is not a big deal. And he's got a second point.
It's both. I mean, it's more the Olympics than the development. The development is important because it gives you a replica of what a World Cup's like, and that helps young players. You want to go to the Olympics for that. It's not the end of the American soccer or the U.S. soccer program for the rest of our lives because they didn't qualify for the Olympics. No. It doesn't mean they're not going to qualify for the World Cup. It doesn't mean anything other than a manager had bad tactics on the day where he had to win. That's what it really means. I think a lot of the upset about it is because it's the Olympics. If it was the U20 World Cup, for example, I don't think there would be as much uproar.
Second point from Rich, U20 World Cup is important. The 23-year-old and under playing the USMNT friendlies is important. Playing on the first teams in MLS and Europe is important. This event that even the IOC and FIFA can't agree on is big, but some of the anger might be misdirected.
I'm going to push back on one part of that, Rich. Playing in friendlies is not as important than playing in competitive matches. And some of those U23s needed to play with the U23s in Mexico if they would have been allowed to, and we don't have answers to that. Everybody's going to yell and scream and point fingers at Atlanta United instead of asking, would Barcelona have released Conrad? He didn't even go to play in those friendlies. Would Red Bull Salzburg have released Brendan Aronson to go to Mexico to play in this? I don't think that's been asked of Red Bull Salzburg. I would have rather had Brendan Aronson in a game that mattered than playing in a friendly. 100%. I'm sorry. Friendlies don't mean anything. They don't. And you want to play them because it's better than sitting at home and playing PlayStation or Xbox. But no. I'd rather have those guys in competitive games. I would have rather had them have to deal with beating Honduras in a game that mattered. But let's point and yell about not having a center back in a game where you needed goals. Let's do that.
And then a couple from Tofka to wrap. Tofka is down with the idea of the SDH golf tournament.
Yep, it'll happen.
Then his question is about Marcelino Moreno. He says Marcelino Moreno on the wings has him confused, and he used the Chris Rock gif to express that. He says, I trust Heinze, I trust the system, just as confused as to how it works.
Why confused? He's a winger. He's played as a winger. He played as a winger at Lanús before he moved into the middle. At Lanús, it worked better for him to play in the middle in that 4-1-4-1. But Heinze sees him working better on the wing. There's nothing to be confused about. That's the thing, Tafka, and you're not the only one, and this is going to come up a lot because you're going to see players play in positions, you're going to see them in parts of the field that you will post the confused GIFs about. This is not going to be rigid. It's not going to be rigid. We have to stop thinking of players as this is the position they play, this is the only formation they play in. That's it. Moreno can play on the wing. He could play on the opposite wing. He can play centrally. You're going to put him in the position you feel is best. And more often than not, so far in preseason, it's been on the wing. I think more often than not, it will be on the wing this season from what we've seen so far. Could he play centrally at times? Yeah, absolutely. Could he play on the right at times? Absolutely. It could go either way. He won't play in the first game. Yeah, that's true, which doesn't, okay, then what do? Do you move Barco back to the wing, or do you keep Barco centrally and you play Mulraney on the wing? Mulraney, from accounts, has looked really good in preseason. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's Machop Chol, who starts in Costa Rica. Looked really good from what we've seen. Maybe it's Machop. It's just not about being confused in that spot because he has the characteristics to play it. He's got the pace. He's got the 1v1 ability. You try to put your wingers in 1v1 situations in this way of playing. That's your goal. You want your best players to be in 1v1 situations. And Marcelino Moreno is one of your best players. And if you feel like you can get him into more of those there, and Barco coming centrally can free him up in some ways for those 1v1 situations against defensive midfielders, okay, that's what you do. And if it doesn't work, you'll switch it and you'll try something else. But Moreno's played on the wing a good bit. There's no thing that he hasn't played there. He's played there a good bit.
And then last question, what are the Juicebox folks saying about the Eastern Conference being the Supporters Shield winning conference?
I don't know what the Juicebox folks are saying on that. I think the Juicebox folks get a little distracted by the bright lights and flashy things of LAFC, who have been the favorite to win MLS Cup. I don't know if there's Supporter Shield odds out there. There should be, based off the schedule now. Bernd is freaking out about Jake Mulraney. Bernd, I'm telling you, I think you're underrating Jake Mulraney. I think he's going to prove you wrong. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But it could be him. It could be Machop. It could be... it could be Barco. It could be Lisandro Lopez playing wide in a situation. Yeah, it could be. He's played on the left plenty. He's looked good in preseason. Is it him? I know he's hit the post a few times, but I'll take that rather than not doing anything in preseason. Could it be Eric Lopez? Yeah. I mean, Eric Lopez has been working centrally, and Heinze made that clear. But in this game where you don't have Moreno on the wing, you got to solve that problem with something. And you're going to look. And if you feel like they're going to play a 31-year-old at right back, you might say, I want Machop Chol to run at him every single chance. Or you might feel like, okay, this gives us the possibility to play Lisandro Lopez, who hasn't looked like a 38-year-old. Lisandro Lopez has looked fine. Maybe you say, you know what? This is a guy going up against 1v1 that he's got a quickness advantage on, or he's equal with, and he's got more experience, and he's a better player. So maybe this is a good matchup for Lisandro Lopez to play out wide. All kinds of possibilities.
And then done on Twitter, but Chris Ashley has linked on the Twitch pitch to Greenville releasing their kit for this season. The Triumph have released it. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, Chris Ashley's trying your route of breaking news sounders. It's a nice kit, but it's a kit. Let's slow down. That's not quite the breaking news sounder thing. It can get. I'm not going to give it the breaking news sounder. I will give it.
Excellent.
There you go.
That's what it gets. It is very nice. It is very nice.
And we're caught up on Twitter.
Okay, Twitch pitch. I think I've caught up on everything. Lawrence Wyke has signed with Tampa Bay Rowdies. I knew he was down in St. Pete. That's a good pickup for them. It's a good move for him, going to a really good club. Good, hard-working guy. I hope it works out for him, and I think that's a club where he'll fit right in. Burns says, so Coleman wants Depay over Aguero. Cool, he needs to go back to coaching Holland. The 2 schedule is out. We'll finish with that. More overlap with first-team games than we're accustomed to. I think some of it's just down to the way the calendar is set up, and it is what it is. Let me see if I have the schedule handy. And, of course, there we go. So it starts with 3 on the road in a really weird situation where you go to Oklahoma City and you come back and you go back to Oklahoma City 2 weeks later. But then a bunch of home games in a row. May 19, May 23, May 30, June 6, June 9. It is front-loaded with home games. June 27, then 3 more in a row. July 3rd, July 7, July 10. July 28, August 8, August 11, September 15, September 18, September 22, all in a week. Then 1 more September 29. You're on the road for your final 4.
Yeah.
You have some different opponents than we've seen in the past. You've got Tulsa and OKC Energy. You've got Rio Grande Valley mixed in here. Sporting Kansas City 2, who you've seen a little bit. Did I forget anybody else?
No.
You go to Rio Grande, which will be on September 25th. It's a 32-game season, so it's not 34 like it's been in the past. It's 32. And I'm guessing that's just down to calendar.
Yeah, and you're trying to front load some things because of football season with Kennesaw State and things like that. So
to a degree, I think my guess, and this is my guess, I think Atlanta United 2 is probably taking a little bit of the hit on that because it's more important for Tulsa to have a home game on October 20th where they should be at full attendance. Memphis on October 16th. Indy on October 2nd. The independent teams need the attendance more than the second teams.
Yeah.
Because that is everything to their survival. The second teams, it's a different decision about if they play each season. It's just a whole different conversation. You need to make sure that the independent teams have every chance to draw as much money at the gate as they can. And that's going to be later in the year.
Yep. So, looking forward to the new guys, although, not being able to go up against Tampa. We'll miss that one, obviously. But it'll be good to have some new rivals as a part of this season.
You do get Tampa. They come up September 18th. You're just not going to see them quite as much.
Yeah. No Charlotte, I think.
No Charlotte. You do have Charleston. Byrne says any word on kickoff times. We don't yet. I would assume evening games in the summer for sure. I wouldn't expect them in the afternoon. The Sundays would be the ones that I would wonder about. Is it late in the afternoon? Is it like a 4? I think the opener last year was like a 4 o'clock, if I remember right.
Sounds right.
Maybe is it 6? We'll have to see. But, I expect mostly evening games. But, there could be a few on those weekend Sundays where it felt like a lot of games fell on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. Maybe you've got some 4 or 6 o'clocks, late afternoon. We'll have to see. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to everything getting underway. And we'll keep you posted on what the Ala Walenze series looks like for Mike and I and what we'll be doing because that's still a little up in the air. CONCACAF is a little difficult, but we'll come up with something for you, and there will be ways to interact is the plan, at least, with us while we're all watching the game and talking about it. So we'll figure that out as we go. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Stoppage time at 2 o'clock. I'll be on midday show at 12:20 with Andy and Randy, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning. Tom Robinson of World Football Index and Golazo Argentino joins us tomorrow to get caught up on everything in South America, rumors and innuendo, and the Rafael Santos Borre situation where he's making people very, very upset. Like
leaving people at the altar.
Yes, to the point that they're comparing it to how they proposed marriage to their wife. Yeah, that's what happened today. All right, y'all have a good rest of the day. Mucho plata, y'all.
Mucho plata, y'all.